What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the show. It's your boy DarthModuh. We're live every Sunday at 5 p.m. EST. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite films, Blue Velvet, by one of my favorite directors that I've mentioned before, David Lynch, who just recently I saw they erected a statue for him in Paris or something. And it's a really interesting statue because you have to look at it from a certain perspective to actually see his face. If you look at it from any other perspective, it's kind of like this strange amalgamation of metallic slats. Anyway, what's up, Jason? What's up, Mella? We got Destro Magnus in the house. He's going to be my in-person mod. So big thank yous to Destro, who's going to be helping me out, making sure that we don't got no pesky spammers in the chat, making sure, not that I have to worry about the regular crew, you know. We got Mella and Jason already here, so I know they're going to be getting the highest tier of chat comments because they're the highest tier chat on YouTube. Anyway, so Blue Velvet, you know, it's there's quite a lot been already said about it, and I'm not going to claim that I have some like you know, specific insight that's different than say someone else's, but I really like this film, and the reason why I picked it was because I sort of feel like the way this channel is sort of going is we're kind of building on a theme of, you know, we've been only covering really modern works, and I wanted to cover David Lynch because I feel like David Lynch is probably the most modern, in fact, you might call him postmodern filmmakers out there. I mean, all of his films deal with these very esoteric themes and include a lot of symbology and imagery that draws us to some pretty disturbing conclusions. If anybody's ever watched Twin Peaks, I would call that David Lynch at his probably his finest. Not all of the episodes, mind you, are directed by David, but he wrote all of the show. So you can kind of also sort of look at the history of David Lynch and his relationship with the Hollywood conglomerate and his big disdain for working, you know, with big producers who sort of don't let him exhibit his full true vision. And he's spoken about this in all of it. I've watched a zillion of his interviews, and a lot of them are the same. So it's kind of, honestly, David Lynch interviews, I wouldn't recommend them because you just watch one of them and you've watched all of them, really. Kind of has the same story. And, you know, I bought his book. Bought this book, and I found that as I'm reading it, it's all the things I've already heard in all of his interviews. So you don't need to buy this book. I mean, you can if you like David Lynch and want to support him, but anyway. Oh, my cam is minimized. Oh boy. There we go. You can see my beautiful face. I'm gonna read a passage from is this chapter 7 or something? From his book. It's called Catching the Big Fish: Meditation, Consciousness, and Creativity. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with discussing any of those topics. You know, he himself is, you know, a student of the Maharishi Yogi, who, you know, if you guys know anything about the Beatles, that was the dude who, you know, got the Beatles turned on to transcendental mysticism through, I guess, a branch of Hinduism or yoga. And anyway, for those of you who don't know, probably none of you might know, I am a registered yoga teacher, and I have taught yoga before, but I don't do it anymore. I've also been a martial arts instructor. And so I have a little bit of insight into some of the things that, David talks about. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he talks about. He talks about this unified field theory, but the problem with his unified field theory is that there's no definitive proof that this exists. You can't prove that this so-called unified field, which he doesn't even correctly define, he doesn't really know I don't think he understands what he's talking about when he's talking about the unified field, because it is a theory in science, but the way he uses it is not in the correct terms. So that's kind of how that's a question I would ask him if I got the chance to. So anyway, I really respect and admire him. I don't want you guys to think that I'm not a David Lynch fan. I really, really enjoy all of his works. I'm obsessed with his movies. I just, just because you like somebody's work doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with everything that they, pontificate. Anyway, the title of the chapter is called Dreams. He says, I love dream logic. I just like the way dreams go, but I have hardly ever gotten ideas from dreams. I get more ideas from music or from just walking around. On Blue Velvet, though, I was really struggling with the script. I wrote 4 different drafts, and I had some problems with it near the end. Then one day, I was in an office, and I was supposed to go in and meet somebody in the next office. A secretary was there, and I asked her if I could have a piece of paper, because I suddenly remembered that the night before I'd had this dream. And there it was. There were 3 little elements that solved those problems. That's the only time that's happened. So he admits in the book, as he does in a lot of his interviews, that he is very concerned with the idea of dreams. However, he typically doesn't get his ideas from dreams. He gets his ideas from what he calls daydreaming, which is a sort of lapse of consciousness in order to allow thoughts to come in and ideas that you wouldn't normally be able to possess. So that's sort of his process. But he says in Blue Velvet, which we're going to be talking about, he actually did get his ideas from a dream. And I believe the idea was the song Blue Velvet was what the inspiration was. He says that he never liked the song until he heard it in a specific instance, and then it formed a picture in his mind. And he, one of the pictures was a severed ear in a field. And then another idea he said was white picket fence, blue skies, and red roses. And that's the first image we get in the film. Film was released in 1986, starring Kyle MacLachlan, Laura Dern, who are regulars, or will. And at this point, I think Kyle worked with David in Dune before this film. And then Laura Dern will go on to be a very, very consistent regular in Lynch's repertoire. Then you got Isabella Rossellini, Dennis Hopper. Me and my buddies were just talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie with back in the day. Anybody watch that movie? Dennis Hopper plays Bowser. We got Hope Lange, George Dickerson, and Dean Stockwell, with a budget of $6 million, box office of $8.6 million. So just like a lot of other movies that we've been talking about, a lot of the greatest movies don't make a lot of money. Man, it's such a shame. And that's a trend that's continued to, up until very recently. I feel like, with Oppenheimer, Barbie, with the new Dune 2 movie, Godzilla, while these films are not original per se, they still give audiences the cinematic experience that I feel like we've been missing. Yeah, Twin Peaks was after this film came out. However, there is so much similarities between this film and Twin Peaks, and I'm going to mention that later on. Okay, so big shouts out to Jason. Big shouts out to Mela. Thank you, Destro, for being here. Once again, I'm DarthModuh. go ahead and follow me on Instagram at darth.moduh, DARTH.MODUH. We always like to keep you guys updated as soon as we can as to when the next video is going to be. And I like to post memes and stuff. So if you like funny memes, look at my Instagram. Okay. I believe Blue Velvet to be the quintessential Lynch film. Not only is the plot one of the most straightforward, if not the most straightforward of all of his films, Blue Velvet's subtext is also some of the most easily accessible when compared to something like Mulholland Drive or Eraserhead. So if you guys have ever seen Eraserhead, which is, I would say, probably the least accessible of all of his films, because nobody knows what the fuck he means, and he's not willing to tell anybody what any of this shit means. So that's another reason why I love David Lynch. Okay, I'm gonna go on a rant here for 1 second before we get into it, but I love directors who leave things up to audiences correct own interpretation. Thank you, Destro. You know, a lot of the times we see that directors will try to force feed a narrative or force feed a methodology or a framework as to how we should be viewing the film. But that's not good filmmaking. So if you want to make good films, don't do that. Unless you just want to make some big Hollywood cop-out film like the theatrical rendition of CSI, SUV, DDD, DID, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Okay. Like Kubrick, one of Lynch's favorite filmmakers, David juxtaposes beauty and violence with poetic flourishes. But unlike Kubrick, Lynch's works consist mostly of original screenplays. I think, you know, he did the biopic on The Elephant Man, which is a great film. But other than that, and Dune, I believe all of his other works have been, you know, original works, screenplays by him. And Kubrick didn't like to do that. He typically, you know, I don't know, does Kubrick have an original screenplay? I would have to go The Killing, maybe? Isn't The Killing based off of some French film, if I'm not mistaken? Anybody know that in the chat? The Killing is based off of anything?
What's 2001 based off?
2001 was based off of the book The Sentinel by the dude, the science cult dude. What's his name? And then Kubrick hired him to write the novelization of the screenplay, and then Kubrick told him what to put in the novel. He was like, "Yeah, write this novel, but I'm gonna tell you what to write." Anyway, I believe that the tendency of Lynch to use original screenplays as opposed to adapted, it allows him to delve into a lot more of the surreal aspects of film, while filmmakers like Kurosawa from Japan and Stanley Kubrick give us visions of our present world, as well as visions of fate and past. Auteurs like David Lynch and Andrei Tarkovsky show us like literal dream realities that they envision in their heads. If you guys have ever seen Solaris, it's a really good sci-fi film by Tarkovsky. That is complete esoteric, surreal, like Arthur C. Clarke. Got it, Jason. MVP. As always, yep, we got the best chat on YouTube. Smartest, highest IQ chat. Okay. What all of these directors, however, that I mentioned before, from Kurosawa, Kubrick, Lynch, Tarkovsky, they all have in common a trust in the audience to create their own conclusions based off of what is captured in the shot or what is heard through dialogue, soundtrack, score, etc. David Lynch is not afraid of leaving audiences confused, exemplifying this exemplifies his habit of ambiguous endings that he refuses to talk about in post-release interviews. So he never likes to talk about what things mean. He hates talking about meaning. And the reason why he hates talking about meaning, because he doesn't believe in it. Doesn't believe in meaning, because he subscribes to a specific spiritual worldview that I don't agree with personally. So, in an age where every serious movie has to have the plot and the meaning literally read out to you through narrative dialogue, Lynch subverts audiences' expectations time and time again, and he is lauded for it. The man has only to light a cigarette to induce applause. I've seen it countless times. He says, "Can I smoke in here?" And they say yes. He lights a cigarette, and people lose. They go, "Oh, David Lynch is smoking a cigarette! Oh my god!" It's kind of dumb. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway. And this isn't because people are obsessed with him. They are obsessed with him, but it's because his work is singular and touches on all levels of the human condition. That's why people like his work. It's because for lack of a valid worldview, he does have good artistic merit. I'll give him that. Blue Velvet is a surreal drama stylized as a neo-noir thriller with elements of romance and horror spliced in between the main narrative. So we have the main character, Jeffrey. He has to return home from college after his father suffers from an accident, which looks sort of like a pulmonary artery condition. On his way home from the hospital, he finds a severed and rotting ear in a field near his home. And what's interesting about this ear is it's really disgusting, just like a lot of things that David Lynch is interested in. He's been very vocal about his interest in dead, decaying body parts and taxidermy and gross stuff like that. But it makes for interesting film and art. He has some very interesting art that I wouldn't want to see in person because it might smell really bad. Okay. So he finds this ear in the field. And the point about the ear, I think, is that I'm going to talk about it. I always get ahead of myself and then I end up repeating myself later on. I should just stick to the script, Kyle. Stick to the script, kid. Okay. On his way home, he finds a severed ear. He then gives the ear to the local police detective who lives on his street. Unable to get any additional information from the detective, Jeffrey leaves and encounters the detective's daughter, Sandy. So Jeffrey is played by Kyle MacLachlan. Sandy is played by Laura Dern. If you don't know who Laura Dern is, she's my desktop background.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Notice that.
So she tells him that she thinks the ear has something to do with a nightclub singer named Dorothy Valens. And the reason why she knows details about the case is because, like I said before, her father is the detective who's on the case, and she hears his phone calls because her room is right above her father's study, which is stupid. Of course, she's going to hear stuff that she shouldn't. It's a great place. Can't you pick any other room in the house? You're going to mentally scar this girl. Well, what's cool is like she doesn't get mentally scarred because she's one of the strongest moral characters in the film. She's the only character that gives us any hope in the film. All the other characters either want to get slapped and, you know, misused sexually or do that to someone else. All these characters besides Sandy is like pretty morally reprehensible. I mean, Jeffrey, you know me, I love characters that are complex, and Jeffrey is one of the most complex characters. I mean, he says he wants to do good things, but we see him doing a lot of weird bad things throughout the film. He's kind of a creepy dude. You know, I watched this film with my friends the other day, and my buddy and his girlfriend, And they, you know, she immediately commented on the fact, she's like, why is Jeffrey doing all of this? She didn't understand, you know, why Jeffrey would put himself in these situations to spy on Dorothy and do all this weird stuff, right? She didn't get it. And so I tried to explain to her that the whole thing about it was the ear, the severed ear. Like, what is the ear? The ear is an enigma, right? Because the ear obviously came from someone. It didn't just appear. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. Like, oh, let me not go there. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. And so it it piques his curiosity, right? And so he gets these details from the detective's daughter, and they scope out this woman, Dorothy's apartment, because she finds out that the ear has something to do with this case about Dorothy. And she knows where Dorothy's apartment is because her father obviously knows. And Jeffrey has this idea to sneak into her apartment to see if he can get any more information about the case, which is just totally freaking weird, dude. Like, don't do that. Don't do stuff like this. Like, it's not good. I mean, I guess like he didn't know anything about the situation going in. He just knew that you know, oh, this it has something to do with this woman. Like, I'm gonna go sneak into her apartment. What a creep, bro. I don't get it. I don't get it either. But I guess he had to peek. I guess he had to satisfy his curiosity, and we got to watch a good movie. So that's why he did it. So he sneaks in. Dorothy discovers him, and they have an interesting conversation and an interesting encounter. Oh, God damn it! You're right, Grandma. I gotta stop saying I'm showcasing my lack of education. Talking about that University of Miami,
Suntan
Canes.
baby.
Let's go, baby. No, I'm not a Canes fan.
Suntan U, baby.
Suntan U, baby.
Suntan U, buy that education. Oh yeah.
Baby.
Private education.
Okay. That good old fashioned private education.
Film school actually dope as hell.
Okay. Dorothy discovers him, and they have an interesting conversation and an encounter that borders between abuse and psychosexual stimuli. It's weird. We find out that Dorothy is being blackmailed in the apartment and forced to sing Blue Velvet every night at the Slow Club because Frank Booth is holding her husband Don and child Lil Donnie hostage. They got Donnie Wahlberg and his mini-me Lil Donnie Wahlberg, and he's like, yo, I was in Band of Brothers, so my mini-me, my Lil Donnie was also in Band of Brothers. We're a band of brothers, but except this Lil Donnie is being held hostage, and we're gonna find out later that the ear belongs to Don, who is Dorothy's husband. We find that out later. I'm just gonna what's the word? Spoilers. Sorry. I don't know if another actor could have played Frank Booth. One thing that Lynch is marvelous at doing is writing really convincing villains or heavies like Johnny Peru in Wild at Heart or the enigmatic Bob from Twin Peaks. Frank inflicts trauma on every being he encounters. He is whimsical, pleasure-seeking, and exhibits all of the signs and actions of a sadist. So who is Frank? Frank is the guy holding Isabella Rossellini hostage. And he is obsessed with the fabric blue velvet because what happens is he inhales this nitrous oxide, and then he goes into these psychosexual spurts of rage and odd. At one point, he puts lipstick on very strange. Obviously, Freud. There's something there related to Freud. I'm not going to talk about Freud because I really don't like him. But obviously, Lynch used aspects of the Oedipal complex in this character's design, that being Frank Booth. And it's obvious that Frank Booth is supposed to be a nod towards John Wilkes Booth. Everyone knows about John Wilkes Booth. And we know that that's true because the street that Dorothy Valens lives on is Lincoln Street. I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to say, but yeah, Frank is a bad dude. He's completely reprehensible. Oddly enough, Dorothy Valens, the victim, shows all of the signs of enjoying that abuse. And that's a masochistic trait. So at one point, you know, she looks like she's enjoying the abuse, and that's really weird. It's obviously this BDSM style relationship that if someone just watches, it seems as though she wants to be abused, and that's disgusting. She will at one point also inflict a sort of dominating role when she forces Jeffrey to expose himself to her. But those roles quickly switch when she begins to beg him to hit her, and as they begin their foreplay. Dorothy's whole mind has been warped from Frank's abuse. While I am not sure whether she exists in a sort of Stockholm syndrome or is simply acting to appease Frank, we can hear her whisper the word yes quite seductively after Frank hits her across the face. It's really terrible scene. Perhaps the abuse served as conditioning, ergo she is unable to receive any pleasure without first experiencing pain. In one very disturbing scene, Dorothy asks Jeffrey to hit her, and he tells her he doesn't want to hit her, that he wants to help her. She insults him, tells him that he is not a real man, emasculates him, tries to get she tells him to get away from her, and then Jeffrey hits her and chips one of her teeth. Another scene. This movie is full of disturbing scenes. Later, after suffering physical and sexual abuse from Frank, Jeffrey sits in his bed and thinks of that instance when he harmed Dorothy out of rage, and he cries. I think stuff like this happens all the time nowadays in this modern, postmodern society, especially with how hookup culture has been trending in the States. And now, don't think I'm saying the word postmodern because I'm trying to talk like, oh man, I do a terrible Jordan Peterson. Oh, I'm not trying to like dog whistle Jordan Peterson. I'm using postmodern in the correct terms. I'm talking about art. Why did Jeffrey hit Dorothy? Was it out of anger, or was he fulfilling some sort of primal sexual desire a la Freud? If anyone acts from this space of total ego, or id, if you like Freud, it is definitely Frank. He is bipolar. He has bipolar reactions to every situation, seeks only to gratify his urges, and cares not for the well-being of anyone. One character who undergoes a significant amount of trauma, especially at the end of the film, is Sandy. So Sandy, though she's morally pure, a moral guidepost, she also suffers some trauma. We find out that Sandy has been hearing bits and pieces of information about specific cases her father is currently pursuing. This is due to her proximity, like I said, to her father's room. And the name of the town is called Lumberton, USA. And that's going to tie in later. And when he does Twin Peaks, Twin Peaks is also a lumber town. The whole premise of the first season is that somebody's trying to burn down the lumber mill. And wood, you got the log lady. Everyone loves the log lady from Twin Peaks, right? So yeah, he started formulating all of these ideas about a town that was centered economically around lumber. And that's kind of why I feel like another reason why these films connect, not these films, but the TV show Twin Peaks, which did have a film, so I'll give myself some credit there. Later on, Sandy begins to fall in love with Jeffrey while aiding him in his goal of spying on Dorothy, a woman who sings at a nightclub. Afterwards, towards the end of the film, Dorothy shows up nude and battered and professes her love to Jeffrey directly after an intimate date between Sandy and Jeffrey. So you have this love quadrangle: Sandy, Jeffrey, Isabella Rossellini, Frank Booth. So, you know, stuff like this is common too. This is like a very basic setup for a film, but David Lynch puts his, Lynchian American surreal apple pie mixed with bug juice take on things. He's always interested in like bugs, and his favorite book is a Metamorphosis. Yeah, so Jeffrey directly, is seen holding the nude and battered Isabella Rossellini. Sandy's crying because she just professed her love to Jeffrey. It's all so sad, and why can't they just all be friends? But though it obviously hurts Sandy to witness this, she literally cheated on her high school sweetheart only to bear witness to the scene described before. So yeah, I forgot to mention Sandy has a boyfriend. And not only does she have a boyfriend, but the parents know she has a boyfriend, and they let her go out with Jeffrey. Where is the morality in this town? Do any of these people go to church? Like, what's going on? I don't understand. Come on, like, stop letting your children just, listen to all the details of your homicide cases, for one thing, and at least try to tell them that maybe they should only date one person at a time, at least now while they're a kid. I mean, Jesus Christ. So even though she's hurt by Jeffrey, she does not blame him. She still loves Jeffrey, and they're going to end up together by the end of the film, of course. A lot going on under the pristine mask of the town. Exactly, Jason. Just like anywhere that you go. I mean, dude, my little corner of paradise here, there's so much crazy crap that's going on every day. My grandma is very good at reminding me. My grandma still reads the newspaper and listens to NPR and stays up to date on everything, like every day. And she's always telling me all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my, it's just crazy. It's just in our little corner of the world. It's crazy. And just the same thing's going on in Blue Velvet. Like, this is just one town, and not just one town. It is just one story, one group of people in one town. What if we went to the next house? What's going on over there? What the hell is going on in the next house, dude? Like, scary stuff. And the same thing happens in Twin Peaks, right? The parents do the same thing. The parents let the kids cheat on their boyfriends and their girlfriends, and it's just give the kids some guideposts, okay? Try to steer them clear of like wrong action, man. That's all I'm trying to say. So Jeffrey and Sandy's mutual concern for the well-being of the obviously injured Dorothy makes their love for each other seem more real. Up until this point, the audience could question Jeffrey's morale. He does hit Dorothy, as well as being a sort of weirdo, like I talked about before. Freaking George McFly on a tree, Peeping Tom, being a weirdo. But now we can see that Jeffrey really only wanted to help Dorothy, right? So even though he's being weird, he really just does want to help her. He feels bad for her, which we share with him. We share that sadness. We want to see Dorothy get out of the situation, right? Jeffrey sort of acts as this like inside guy to help the cops get evidence indirectly. That's sort of what this is like. The cops can't move in on Frank's operation because they don't have any evidence. So Jeffrey, of his own free will, and his own plan, he decides that he's going to be the person to get inside and bust open this operation. Of course, that's not what he thinks. That's just what ends up happening, right? So, sorry, I lost my place. I got to use my finger. Try finger. If you got it, okay. But now we can see that Jeffrey only wanted to help Dorothy. And one of the henchmen working for Frank is known as the Yellow Man. Kind of makes me think of like Nietzsche. Or not, it's not Nietzsche. What is that, Nietzsche? No, it's not Nietzsche. It's H.P. Lovecraft's Yellow King. If you guys watch True Detective, all that's Lovecraftian based esoteric BS, but still interesting stuff, but just not worthy of being a correct worldview. I think that's kind of what the Yellow Man is supposed to represent. He's pretty much silent, but we find out that the Yellow Man is working for Frank, but he's also working for the cops. He's a detective who works directly with Sandy's father. And that's upsetting because now we get it, right? Of course, the cops are dirty. Of course, the cops are in this town are pieces of shit, right? You know, when I first watched this film, I thought Frank was a cop because at one point he has a walkie-talkie, but I guess he's not a cop. I guess he's just he's the fence where the cop goes to drop the drugs off. He makes the money, gives them a cut. You know how it goes. It's pretty straightforward plot lines in this story. It's not hard. It's unlike any other David Lynch film or work for that reason. It's the most accessible, like I was telling you before. But it's also very disturbing. So don't let your kids watch this. You know, it's not something for kids. So Frank has this ensemble of gooks who follow his every whim and take pleasure in witnessing Frank's abuse of Jeffrey and Dorothy. They're in a car very tightly close together, and Frank's doing his I love you about it. And you can tell that I don't want to tell you what he's doing at the time because it's gonna get me dinged, but he's doing some weird stuff. And weird, whoa, hey, force wheel. He's inhaling the nitrous. You got the blue velvet, and he's like, I love blue velvet. I love blue velvet. And then everyone's like, all of his henchmen are like, this is funny. This is funny. I like seeing people suffer because they're fucking demons. Confiscate. So yeah, I was telling you, he's a fence. They confiscate the drugs they sell. And then Frank gets high on his nitrous oxide. And one thing to note is they get this wrong. If any of you know anything about nitrous oxide, it's when you inhale it and you talk afterwards, your voice sounds like nitrous. Nitrous, bro. Sounds like that. So they got that wrong in the film. I get it. It's a nitpick. You know, but that's what happens when you inhale nitrous and you talk afterward. You talk like this. Everything sounds like you're talking like this. What we see through the course of the film is just one example of the corruption that has rooted itself in the town. Perhaps Frank is possessed by some demon like Bob. Interestingly, the film begins with the title card overlaid onto blue velvet curtains. And the red curtain is one of the biggest motifs in Twin Peaks. You got the blue curtain, you got the red curtain, you got the white lodge, you got the black lodge. What are the curtains? The curtains are a border between realms, allowing Jeffrey and Blue Velvet and Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks, both played by Kyle MacLachlan, who are essentially the same character. It allows them to access the dark truths of the respective towns. The parallels between both Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet are way too upfront to not take notice of. Just like in Twin Peaks, the corruption is affecting all of the town members of Blue Velvet's Lumberton, USA. but not all are affected as much as others or in the same way. And you're probably asking yourself, Lumberton, USA, what it should be like Lumberton, Philadelphia, USA. Well, the reason why it doesn't have a state is because it's supposed to represent the American town that exists in every state. That there's this idea of Americana, right? So what's Americana? It has a couple different definitions. You could talk about Americana as a type of culture. You can also talk about Americana novels, which kind of also are part of the culture of Americana, but not always. Some of the cultural symbols of Americana would be like 4th of July, apple pie. Somebody it says here Clark Kent, baseball. One of the other things is blues music, rock and roll music. These are all examples of Americana. What else do we got? We have muffins, which is weird. No. Wild West, Thanksgiving. That good old American thing that we love to do with eat hamburgers and a barbecue, right? Straight up, that's David Lynch's whole thing. He loves America, but he's also the first person to point out that the America that he loves, this 1950s, 1960s, 1970s mesh, which is what a lot of his films are. They draw from all of these cultures, and that because of the set design pieces and the way the characters are dressed and also their hairstyles. It's an amalgamation of many different periods of Americana. So that is one of the main themes that's gone throughout all of Lynch's films. He says his muse is cities like Philadelphia and Los Angeles and stuff like that. So one thing that we know about Lynch is he always likes to present moral guideposts for films, because if you're going to have a film with a really, really dark, heavy, terrible person like Johnny Peru or Frank Booth or Bob, you need to have someone else to serve as the foil to that person, or else it's just unless you want to make something like Friday the 13th, which is okay. If you want to make Friday the 13th or something like it, that's fine. That's just not what I would consider like it's not the highbrow. We like highbrow. We don't only like highbrow cinema. We're going to do some comedy films coming up soon. So if you like comedy films, stay tuned, because we're going to be doing some of those soon, because we've been doing a lot of dramatic stuff. Everyone's getting down. I want to make you guys feel good. Okay? So going back to the moral guidepost conversation, our moral guidepost in this film is Sandy. She manages to stay clear of all of the influences. She forgives Jeffrey. She forgives him. Even though she knows that he probably slept with Isabella Rossellini, she forgives him. Forgiveness. She's the only person who exemplifies forgiveness in the film. She is constantly framed in pink and bright fluorescent light. None of the other people in the film are framed in those colors. At one point, the tassels in the background that are attached to her, either her bedpost or something, the tassels look like angels. They look like little angels. And her vision, robins, which are the angels, the robins are the angels. She has this vision about robins bringing light to the darkness. This is the most beautiful part of the film, when she's talking about her vision. And she's talking about all the robins came and brought light to all the darkness. I love Laura Dern. Especially when she, I love her when she was younger. No, I like her at Jurassic Park, but I also think she's the absolute biggest babe in Wild at Heart, bro. Like Wild at Heart, Super babe.
We'll have,
Ooh.
Laura Dern tier list.
We might have to do a Laura Dern tier list. A drunk Laura Dern tier list. Who would watch the drunk Laura Dern tier list? Oh man, that might be the next video. So who knows? So you're probably like, oh man, but Laura Dern, you know, she's not in Twin Peaks. Did you watch The Return though? Did you watch The Return though? Did you watch The Return though? She was like, hi, I'm Diane. I have 2 different colors hair, and I'm not going to talk about how my hair color is different now. But I'm probably a different person because I'm like a golem. You know, I'm like a golem, and like I'm not the real Diane. Diane is in this Chinese woman. She's locked up in the prison, and she can't see, but that's the real Diane. I'm the fake Diane. What is going through David Lynch's fucking head? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Oh, he's an American sweetheart. He's an American sweetheart. I love him, but I would challenge him on a lot of his assumptions. Anyway, so yeah, Laura Dern ends up playing Diane. The Diane character is someone who is always known about, but she's never heard or seen in Twin Peaks. Dale Cooper, FBI, is always talking on a camcorder, and he's always making voice memos towards his assistant, Diane. And then we find out in The Return that that's Laura Dern. Whoa, dude. It's just like the same. It's like the same characters, but they transferred over to another like universe. Is it another universe? Is it? I'm not convinced. I think Dale Cooper, DC Cooper, is a fake name, like Lieutenant Fakenham and Barry Lyndon. Or I'm Lieutenant Fakenham. Got the fake name. Swing. Very good. Oh man. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We're gonna be doing some comedies, man. I watched this really cool a deep dive on the Austin Powers series and how it's actually a meta-analysis of Hollywood itself. Whoa, dude. Go back and watch Austin Powers and look for the symbolism. It's all over the place. I'm not fucking joking. I'm not memeing here. I'm not memeing here. I'm being morally, educationally sophisticated, all of that stuff with this the decadedly. I'm decadedly. Yeah, epic trilogy. Epic Austin Powers. All right, baby. Let's get to it. We're almost done here. It's not gonna be that too long of a stream. How long have we been streaming?
About an hour.
Okay, we're gonna get done here. Interestingly enough, it's almost as if Blue Velvet is the prequel to Twin Peaks. It's Dale Cooper's origin story. It's his origin story, man. It's his event. What's that thing in Spider-Man across the
his canon event.
This is Dale Cooper's canon event, bro. No, I'm serious because we're talking about spiritual mysticism, like David Lynch, like Maharishi Yogi, you know, all that stuff. He believes in like other realities and stuff. So he's like, yeah, this is all different realities, but it's also one reality, dude, because we all live in the singular oneness, right? We're all one, right? We're all one, but we're many. How does that make sense? It doesn't. Lynch's imagery is what he is mostly known for, but in Blue Velvet, he is asking us to listen as closely as we watch. That is why the severed ear is the catalyst for Jeffrey's curiosity, as well as us, the audience. Okay. What did you guys think of my little essay that I wrote yesterday? Because I procrastinated. Let me know what you think in the comments. Once again, my name is DarthModuh. We got Destro Magnus the mod in the house. joining the chat for the first time, and I really glad he's here. We've known each other for a very long time. We went to high school together. We think we went to middle school together.
We've known each other
I think we actually met when, something like that. And so we've been friends for a long ass time. And he streams on Twitch. So if you guys like video games, I gotta give you a shout out. If you like video games and you like watching Twitch, I guess you just have nothing to do and you want to watch some entertaining Twitch gaming, go check him out. Destro Magnus. His name's in the chat. DESTRO MAGNUS. It should be linked in there. We're gonna be doing so much stuff in the upcoming weeks and months. I'm gonna take a break, not this week, maybe next week, to go see my sister, because I've been telling my sister I'm gonna go visit her, and now that I have a car again, I need to go visit her because it's important to make those important family connections, because you never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. You never know when it will be either your time or their time or someone else's time. And we're alive now. We have to make use of this glorious gift that we've been given from God, and take advantage. Don't just use holidays as an excuse to get in touch with your family. I'm victim to this too. Like I'm always busy. I always have an excuse why I can't get together with somebody, because I'm doing this or I'm doing that. But you have to make time for your family. You have to make time for your friends. You have to make time for yourself. And I'll just leave you guys with that. All I can say about Blue Velvet is I really enjoyed the film. And I hope you guys have, maybe learned a little bit during this show. And if not, hopefully you enjoy yourself. And it's no problem, Bill. If you want to go back and watch the replay, I'm going to keep my back catalog open for you guys. And it helps me out if you like the video, leave a comment after the video's ended. It really helps me out. I'm really trying to get a good amount of people on this channel. I hope that the perspective that I bring is, if it's not unique, at least it's interesting to you. And I want to do a lot of more collaborations with other people. So if you are a creator and you want to be featured on here, I'd be more than happy to host you. Just contact me at kyle.moda@gmail.com. I'd be happy to talk to you about collaborations. What's the next topic? I don't know. I only think of a topic after I'm done with the video for the current topic. So we were talking before about how it's going to be the drunk Laura Dern tier list. So maybe we'll do the drunk Laura Dern tier list, and we'll do it. We'll see.
Laura Dern is like 3 different. I love her in Jurassic Park, dude. I'm sorry,
dude. Yeah, no, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, dude.
That scene where she's like looking over the veranda, beauty. Just like her hair flowing.
Okay, we gotta get off Laura Dern, bro. Sorry, oh my god. Okay, we're gonna get out of here because we got stuff to do. We're very busy people. We're very, very busy people, but we make time for you, the audience, because we love you. We love the chat. Shouts out to Mela. Shouts out to Bill. Shouts out to Jason. Shouts out to all the homies from Basel Analyzer stream who came over to my stuff, what I do. And you guys have been here pretty much every single time. And like, I'm so grateful for you guys. Like, and also grateful for Basel Analyzer. I'm never afraid of shouting him out. You should go check his videos out too. Yesterday he did one on Master and Commander. It was such a good stream. It made me cry. That stream last night, I was at work and I was crying. So go check out Basel Analyzer. Anyway, it's your boy DarthModuh. This is the Death Star, and we are gonna be back again next week, 5 p.m. EST, live. I will let you guys know what the topic will be. Follow me on Instagram so you can stay up to date. All right, we're gonna be out of here. I'm gonna leave you some music. We're gonna get the hell out of here, man. Let's get the hell out of here.
Let's get out of here, man.
Let's get out of here, dude.
Oh, like Zoink Scoop. Gotta get out of here, bro.
Oh.
Oh.
Shouts out to the chat. Shouts out to the mods. Shouts out all the future listeners, to the past listeners, to my shouts out to my family, shouts out to your family, shouts out to our family. All right, out. Peace.